Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Ambassador Sherman, the United States and the other members of the P5+1 are apparently bound in the agreement to the principle of no new nuclear-related sanctions. Can you, or have you specifically defined what that means? What are nuclear-related sanctions?
Well, there are both practices and legal definitions that accrue with that, Senator, and I'd be glad to get you a briefing from a team at State about how we will sort of work through those issues, but it's quite clear sort of in the nomenclature of how we proceed what are considered nuclear-related versus what would be terror-related or human rights abuses or censorship or military sales-related.
Excuse me, this just generates another series of questions for me, and let me pose it this way. Given that there are different kinds of sanctions, and the agreement focuses on nuclear-related sanctions, assuming we can specify exactly what that is and distinguish between the different sanctions, does that mean that Congress would be free to pass other sanctions measures while we are considering the plan?
We have said to Iran that we will continue to enforce all of our existing sanctions, and we have said that this agreement pertains only to new nuclear-related sanctions in terms of what we, the European Union, and the UN Security Council will forego.
And you're confident that can be delineated as...
Yes, and indeed, right now, there are considerations by the Human Rights Council about a resolution on human rights abuses in Iran. We fully support that. So on an ongoing basis, in all of the international fora where we have ongoing concerns about counterterrorism, human rights, censorship, we will be active as we always have been.
All right, let me ask it in another context. Should we proceed, and should Iran succeed in proving that it can run a purely civilian program and move forward with the resolution of the issue as you have discussed is our objective and as we all hope will be achieved, would the United States then be able to use all of the tools in its toolbox, and what I'm referring to here is something such as petroleum sanctions, to address the destabilizing nature of other aspects of Iran's conduct, such as its state sponsorship of terrorism or its advanced ballistic missile production or its human rights abuses?
I think, Senator, we'd have to look at what the specific language was attacking what specific problem. So I think the best I can do today without specific language sitting in front of me and in front of our lawyers is to say to you that the only commitment we have made in this agreement is no new nuclear-related sanctions is the only commitment we have made.
All right, I would like to pursue that a little further with you following the hearing to see how we distinguish between the two and what kind of limitations would be on the United States as we move forward in that context. Just another couple quick questions. And these questions relate to the UN Security Council resolutions and the U.S.-UAE Civil Nuclear Cooperation Agreement. Can we assume, or can you confirm to us, that those resolutions and agreements would be required to be complied with by Iran as we move forward in any final negotiations?
Indeed, the Joint Plan of Action says that all UN Security Council resolutions must be addressed before a final agreement is agreed to.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have no further questions at this point.